and crazy. Don't ever say it. Some on campus are outraged over the list, but others think it's a good thing. UWM Student Body President Mike Sportiello joins us from campus. My goodness. Thank goodness I'm not on college campuses anymore. But what is going on there, and how are the students reacting to this list? Can you hear me? I think perhaps we maybe lost his audio. Can you hear me, Mike?
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi.
What's going on is that students are engaged.
Yeah.
Students
they're happy
are finally
about
engaged
this?
in discussion.
Okay.
They're finally engaged in discussion about the power of words. You know, last time I checked, asking students to think critically about the power of the words they use isn't so new. The Just Words campaign isn't new this year, but the idea of thinking critically is all of a sudden newsworthy. That to me is a little surprising.
Yeah, but parents are paying a lot of money, and students are taking out loans to be able to go to school and get an education. I mean, people are going to be afraid to open their mouth if they have to worry if they mess up and say politically correct, or they mess up and say the word crazy. Makes no sense.
I don't think people are worried about messing up. I think what's going on is that students are starting dialogue about words that may be offensive to some others. Last time I checked, a sign on a wall that says saying that's gay may have some bad implications, maybe insulting to groups, isn't news. This is completely voluntary. There's nobody going around telling people to shut their mouth or, hey, don't say that. This is starting a dialogue between students and staff about things that maybe students haven't thought about before.
Okay.
If anything, this is a really engaging way to dialogue.
Okay, well, I understand that, and that's another phrase now, right? Weighted dialogue. But you have to understand, people are listening at home and saying the word lame. That is something that we have to have a big discussion about, that it's weighted dialogue. It just seems like a little bit excessive, and I don't know if it's really educating people in terms of going to school and being able to learn something so they can better themselves to go further in their, career with an education that actually helps them fulfill those goals.
Well, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So, if you were unfortunately in a car accident on your way home, and you unfortunately broke both of your legs and you became lame, and then somebody started using the word that you self-identify with to insult you, or not to insult you, but to describe a situation that they don't think is good, whether it's like, someone sneezed in my dinner, that's lame, and all of a sudden they're using a word that personally affects you.
Me
You don't see how
personally,
that
I
can be
wouldn't.
offensive?
No, not to me, but I guess it depends on, the receiver. But if someone said to me, oh, you broke your leg, or a horse breaks their leg at the track, that's an actual term that is used about the
Right,
horse.
and that's an appropriate way to use it, and absolutely.
Because the horse is offended because this is weighted language, because the horse has a lame leg? I mean, this seems
No,
wrong.
I don't think horses should
This
get
is
worse,
wrong,
but
crazy.
one thing that I was thinking, so, you may think it's crazy, that's your opinion, I respect that, but obviously there are appropriate ways to use these terms. Lame has an appropriate usage when one isn't able to use their legs. Gay has an appropriate usage when one identifies as homosexual. An inappropriate way to use those words is one that isn't in the proper definition, in the way that afflicts some marginalization upon some outside group that isn't you.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a wide spectrum there, and there's some words and phrases on there that do not seem that they should be considered to be offensive versus serious, real dialogue about things that would matter and that actually might have an impact on someone, that you wouldn't want to use language that was offensive or was, prejudiced or biased against them. I think that's the distinction.
And I think that is a distinction, but when you look at it, I think you have to ask not just what do people with privilege, people like you and me who aren't lame, but other people too, what do they think of these words? It's not just about how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Life is about looking at how everyone feels and interacting with each other. And again, no one's running around telling people what to say. There's freedom of speech in this country.
Right.
Everyone's proud of it. We're a publicly funded institution. We're proud of the First Amendment here, okay? We're just asking for people to think about the words they use. And last time I checked, it's not so crazy to ask people to think before they talk.
Okay, well, you just used the word crazy now probably like 2-3 times in this segment. So that's interesting. So guess what, Mike? Call me crazy. I'm going to ask you to stick around because we have a guest that's joining us, and maybe you can opine in as well, if that's not banned. Is campus censorship getting out of control? That's the question tonight. To help us figure that out, editor-in-chief from dailywire.com, Ben Shapiro, goes on the record. Ben, great to see you tonight. Thanks for coming on the record. You heard the previous guests and some of these lists, and this is happening pretty much across this country, so there is heated, spirited debate, which you should have, about this subject. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think that what we're teaching a lot of the kids in college is that oversensitivity and perceived victimization is a path toward reward and virtue. That the more you feel as though you're oppressed, the more people are going to sympathize with you and give you what you want. I think that's a bit of a mistake. I think it'd probably be better off just teaching people not to take everything quite so seriously. That said, I of course understand the value of words. I just think that I do wonder at University of Wisconsin, they use words like privilege, obviously, and that's obviously a buzzword. And if you use words like white privilege, which is extraordinarily common on campuses like UW, then I would assume that that's okay. But white privilege is a way of shutting down debate from white people, because then the assumption is that if you're white, then you must be somebody who can't speak properly on any other issues except for white people issues. I mean, all of these words. Yeah, how about this? How about we just have an open debate on all of this stuff, and stop attempting to shut down the terminology that's used, per se.
Right. Mike, you're back up, so that's your reward for being a winner. Is winner an offensive word that is weighted language that may offend somebody because maybe there's one winner and quote, a loser? I think I know what you're saying.
I think it's all about asking, who is being affected by the words we're using. You mentioned just a moment ago, there are words that we use every day that are really common that, before you think, aren't offensive at all. You mentioned the word crazy. You mentioned the word lame. I mentioned,
they're on this list.
That's
why. Lame.
Yeah. And
Man up.
Right,
Man up is very bad, I
them.
guess. Politically correct. Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with man up?
What's wrong with man up?
Yeah.
So I have 6 sisters and a mother, and 1 father. So I come from a family of predominantly women.
Right.
And so when my sisters are growing up in an environment where never, they hurt their foot or something is hurting them emotionally or physically, and if I were to tell them to man up, that the ideal thing is to become more masculine and less feminine, to me personally,
I don't know, but I mean, I don't think you're going to say that to your mother, so I think that's not a very good or specific example. Maybe you say it to Ben. Ben, man up. Does that bother you?
Well, honestly, again, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have 3 sisters and a mother. I don't know that any of them are going to go throw themselves off a bridge if somebody says man up to them. I think that perhaps the best solution is for everyone to man up a little bit and get over it. I mean, honestly, I don't know what you're training kids to do other than become paranoid about the language that they're using and the language that is used about them.
Yeah, at a certain point, believe me, get out there in the job market.
I want to note on that. You're right. To make a really, really big deal out of something isn't always the best thing to do. But you know what? It's a good place to start and to talk about it. Sometimes it's not the time or place to bring it up. If we're having a good conversation about the educational system, and you use the word
but
lame
people
in
would
a
also
sentence,
might
maybe
be
it's something I'll bring
offended
up
to the
later.
term big deal too, and you just used it. See what I'm saying throughout this conversation?
No, because that's not related at all.
Okay, I mean, listen, that just doesn't make any sense, Ben. Ben.
Big deal.
Good luck. Add that to your resume. Ben, you're a big deal. Yeah. All right.
I think a lot of people have futures as administrators in useless departments at University of Wisconsin.
Yeah, all right, there you go. I'm going to leave it at that. No, we're a little bit over time. Gentlemen, can I say that? Thank you. And rescuers are digging through rubble in Amatrice, Italy. The massive earthquake's death toll is rising. But some good news, an incredible rescue you need to see coming up next. Plus, caught on camera, a runaway truck barrels through traffic. Straight ahead.
Every bottle of